these services, this defense function, this financial function, this function of internal affairs will already be organized, will already be seen to by each of the different groups within their own communities. But these ministers are responsible for coordinating the activities of the various groups so that on a national level we have order. So the Minister of Defense will see that those who are responsible for defense in our local communities have some system so that we can coordinate our affairs, so that should anybody anywhere in the country require assistance, it can be provided. The Minister of External Affairs will liaise with government departments around the world, but we will not necessarily have ambassadors or embassies around the world. We may pay a fee to the ambassadors and the embassies of other countries on a fee-for-service basis. That is one of the ways in which we will do it. But when we travel overseas, it is the traveler that will be responsible for the cost if he makes use of this ambassadorial services. So we don't need a Minister of Foreign Affairs with a big budget, millions and hundreds of millions of rands, and having all these embassies everywhere. It's not required. And if we need to use a service, those who use it will pay for it. The Minister of Finance will be responsible for coordinating the financial activities in the country. And this is a very important function, because we are going to understand that our administration is going to have the role of the Central Reserve Bank taken to it by itself. So it will produce that currency which currently the Reserve Bank is producing. It will provide a banking system free of interest. So the commercial banks will have great competition. If they wish to trade using interest, I assume that they would be in a position to do so, but they will have to compete with the bank produced by the national administration, which does not charge interest. So I envisage that the banks will still function, but they will adopt a policy which we currently see being practiced in the Islamic banks, whereby funds will be made available, but made available in a way where there is a partnership. So if you want to start a business, the bank takes a partnership in your business. It takes a share in the profit, it takes a share in the loss. It's not like you borrowing the money, and if your business goes down, you are totally responsible for the debt. In time, maybe you will purchase your entire share back, or the bank may wish to remain your partner. That depends on how your agreement is structured. The Minister of Internal Affairs will be responsible for coordinating activities within the country, such as water supply and electricity, which I think is something that must be administered at national level, but the Council of Ambassadors may not agree. So this is something not what I am going to decide. I am just giving you my views. The decisions are going to be taken at the level of the Council of Elders, who are going to be the elders that we have chosen to represent us. And we will have our own criteria for choosing who our elders and who our representatives will be. In the Muslim community, for example, I cannot imagine that a representative on the Council of Elders will be anything other than one who is a Hafiz al-Quran, one who is learned in the traditions of our Prophet, may peace be upon him, and somebody who is trained in Islamic law. So automatically, people like myself will be excluded. But it doesn't prevent me from making these suggestions to bring about such a structure where I can put into place the people I believe should be my leaders. I don't want to choose some imbecile who thinks that he is fit to represent me and he can get into parliament because he has got the financial backing of some person who is controlled by Satanists. I do not want that to happen. I want my representative to be a person that I can choose, and I am free of all this political meanderings that take place in the current system. This is a basis of the structure. You can think about it. I am going to give you some practical implications of each of the different departments as we currently know them. With regards to foreign relations, essentially each one of us will relate to other individuals in the manner of our choosing. We don't have an individual which makes a decision for 40 million people how we are going to relate to other countries. So this issue of foreign policy does not arise. The Muslim community may react with different peoples in their ways, the Jewish community in the way they wish, etc. Do you envisage any problems with this? Out of the top of my head, I can think of one right now. What happens, for example, if a war breaks out in the Middle East between Israel and Syria, for example? We may see Muslims wanting to fight on behalf of Syria. Let's use a simpler example. Let's use Palestine, because Syria applies just as well as Palestine, but is more relevant because we are actually seeing a war with Palestine right now. So what happens if the Muslims want to go into Palestine and fight on behalf of the Palestinians, and the Jews wish to go to Israel and fight on behalf of the Jews? If that is what they want to do, go ahead and do it. Don't bring the trouble here. But I hope that we would actually grow to a higher level, that we will take our message to the Middle East so that they can adopt our system, which I call the big system, the system for the believers in God, so that they can adopt a system of ours, so that they can have a council of elders for the Palestinians, a council of elders for the Jews, a council of elders for the Christians, that they can form a council of ambassadors of that country, and that everybody in that country can live in peace according to the way they wish, that there wouldn't be this need for us to go there and fight, and that when they adopt a big system, the boundaries between our two countries will dissolve, and that the Jewish communities will be one, the Muslim communities will be one, the Christian communities will be one, and that by extension that we can show by practical example how beneficial it is in having such a system, that the countries around us would adopt a big system and the boundaries will continue to disappear, so that eventually we will have a Muslim community that is international, a Christian community that is international, a Jewish community that is international, where every one of us is free to travel throughout the world without the need of a passport, where we can live wherever we want to without any restrictions. That is the world that can come about when we adopt such a system. You can see it's totally, completely opposite to the new world order as envisaged by the Satanists, where we will be clustered, where we will be slaves, where we will not be able to move, where there will be licenses that restrict us, where there will be taxes that take away our funds. None of this. Total freedom is what I hope we can achieve, and is there within our grasp, within our lifetime. What happens in the judicial system? Each group can have its own system, and we can be free to have it. You can follow your law, your Islamic law in your Islamic courts. You can have your Western type of law in the Christian courts if that's what you wish. Or you may have a truly Christian court. We may have a traditional African court, or we may have a court which is truly traditional. It's up to us. But how will the judicial system function? Let's say, for example, two Muslims have a disagreement. They can go to the Muslim court. But what happens if there's a disagreement between a Christian and a Muslim, or a Muslim and a Jew, or an African, a person who follows the traditional African values, and a Hindu? How would we resolve problems there? Because we don't have a national court system. Each of the groups have their own courts, and you can choose whichever one you go to. So how will conflicts be resolved? I am not going to dictate how it's going to happen, because I'm not in a position to do so. I am only giving you a possible mechanism. Greater minds than myself will eventually determine on a final system. But here's what I can propose. If the disagreement is one of a civil nature, such as somebody's tree is dropping leaves in my garden and he doesn't want to clean it, or somebody has done something that's insulted my wife, in a case like that, the person that is being accused will have the right of deciding which court will hear the case. And he can